Team of the future, potential. They're going to kill it when they get their opportunity. These are all things we say about teams, players that we are excited for. Their potential is unlimited, right? Right now, as the Canadian men are preparing, less than a year out from a World Cup, the women are preparing for their preparation to qualify for the next World Cup. And their team is in a very interesting spot. I think one of the more fascinating things with them is, what do? They hold on for one more run with a generation that has shown they can be successful at the global stage? Or do they turn the page and try to employ a more youthful side, a side of players who are ready to show that they can play up to the level? It's the age-old question, but what would those teams look like? And that's what we're going to look at today. Guys, welcome back to our What Does Our U20 Youth Teams Look Like? We did a U21 team. If you haven't seen it already, make sure you take a look at that. See some of the prospects for the women on the U21 side, the 21 ages and younger. Today's video, we want to focus in on U23, so under the ages of 23, so 23 and under. And if you're new to the channel, guys, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. We do primarily Canadian African content. Right now in Africa, we have the Chan competition, which is going on, which we'll talk about a little bit as it finishes up. European seasons are starting and the likes, and we'll talk about those as they come up. But the U23s are a very interesting crop of players, mainly because there's so many ways you could look at this. Now, one of the rules I've made is I'm not going to use a player twice. In this type of a situation, a player like Olivia Smith could be on a U21 team, a U23 team, the senior team, a U25 team. And so in the interest of trying to find different players that you have heard of or maybe haven't heard from, I want to take this opportunity to look at more players than just ones you've already repeated. So again, no repeats is the rule of the game. And what makes this very interesting for me is we look at the U23s, you start to see a theme, a very interesting theme, which is there's an abundance of riches. You know, if you look at Canadian men, you'll say they have a lot of strikers they could choose from. When we look at the Canadian women, especially young players emerging, the center backs, oh my, so many center, right? In the U21s, we had players like Janet Okiki, Iba Ocheng. When we get to the U23s, so 23 and under, it is flush with center backs. So let's talk about what the lineup we have here is. And the lineup here is, again, we went with a 4-2-3-1, even though it probably should be more of a 4-3-3. So, let's adjust that from a 4-2-3-1 to a 4-3-3, because I think it fits more, and it's more of a flat 4-3-3. Unless you want to look at this as a interesting lineup in a sense. So here is how we have it set up. So in goal we have Anna Karpenko. In the back line we have 4 center backs: Mia Pant, Zara Shavashi, Jade Rose, and Brooklyn Courtnall. In the middle we have Florian Jord, recently signed to PSG, Sime Wujo, Nikayla Small, and up front we have Holly Ward, Kayla Briggs, and Sarita Thurt. A player like Anna Karpenko already has had some call-ups with the women's national team at the senior level. Currently, she is playing in the Northern Super League for the Montreal Roses, who are a top 4 team in that new league. A lot of things that we like about Karpenko is the quickness. We love her reaction time with the ball. Sometimes it gets chaotic, but she's always going out there with a choice to make to try to take away from goal opportunities. And you love to see that from a goalkeeper. Some can command the back line. You've seen her do a good job there in the Northern Super League, moving from that back line and moving the ball up. When we look at the back line is rich with center backs. Mia Pante, Zara Shavashi, Jade Rose, Brooklyn Courtnall are all 4 by trade center backs, right? And by all four being by trade center backs, even if we look at some of the players who maybe we could give some more shine to, right? A Zoe Burns, who's played in Europe as well as a fullback, Elizabeth C. and Viviane Bissett, two other center backs. Canada is flush with center backs. It's a little bit scary. Zoe Burns, though, I think could be interesting. Again, any fullback gets interesting because you look at the availability of the fullbacks. As long as Jade Riviere is healthy, I think it's very much shut and dry. If she's injured, I know you have flexibility of senior players, but it opens the door for that. But the center backs, I think center backs are interesting with the squad because they're so solid and they're looking for players in form. Now, granted, all these players aren't getting regular minutes at their clubs, but they're at high levels, right? Mia Ponte's at Roma in the Italian league. Zara Shavashi and Brooklyn Courtnall are both in the NWSL in North Carolina and Orlando, respectively. And Jade Rose just, went to a little known club, in the city of Manchester. I think Manchester City is what they're called. A little known. Nobody knows about them, apparently. But when you look at that depth, if you compare that with the senior women's team depth, right, you have Jade Rose, who arguably is a starter already. So great contributions from that. Vanessa Gilles, Kadisha Buchanan, who's coming back, Shalina Zadorsky, who's coming back. And then you have flexibility, right? The flexibility of a player like a Gabby Carl who can play back there. You would think and say, yeah, I think they're fine. But I think the center back might see the position. Center back might be a position where you have to start including players into the national team because there's so many coming. Now, maybe you wait for some to emerge, right? Right now, they have the ability that no one is playing regular at a high level yet. But if they all start hitting, now it's okay. Vanessa Gilles is at Bayern. Kadisha is coming back from injury at Chelsea. Doesn't matter. Players who are playing well. When we look at the midfield to me is one of the most fascinating ones for me. Florian Jord, who could have qualified for the U21 side. When we were recording, her move to PSG hadn't been finalized, and now it has been. A midfielder to Cam, who I think, you can definitely put her out wide. When she was playing U20, her and Olivia Smith would always be interchangeable in their spaces, whether one was more in the Cam role or one was more out wide. Simi Ujo at Manchester United. Names that you may be familiar with. But within, say, the midfield the midfield pairings or trios, right? If we look at the senior women's team, right? Jessie Fleming in great form. Julie Grosso getting in better form. Emma Regan playing well in the Northern Super League. That trio is good. Now, Emma Regan's teammate, Nikayla Small, I think she's pushing. I think once we get to the next camp, there are two NSL players I think need to be called up. I think Nikayla Small is one of them, and then the other one is DB Pridham. I think those two deserve, but that's another video for another time. But Nikayla Small has shown her versatility. Now, she was on that U20 team of 2022. They won 3 up and 3 down, losing all 3 matches in the Costa Rica World Cup of Women's U17s. But in the end, NSL, she's shown her versatility. She's played as a 9. She's played in the midfield. Just a constant ball of energy, a high work rate where you're looking saying, honestly, they can put them anywhere. Kind of how you look at those 3, though you'd want some of their senior midfielders to be a little bit more pushed forward. Right? You want Fleming more further up the pitch, or you'd want Grosso further up the pitch and you want Regan to sit back there. I think Nikayla Small offers you a do-it-all. Honestly, she offers a do-it-all midfielder who can fill any role in the midfield, even go out wide if need be. And so I think that middle looks very good. Simi Ujo at Man United. I mean, what else can you say about the player? He continues to play well. Has been more available than Jade Riviere a little bit more recently. Showed well in the 7v7 tournament. I think she's a name who's go. And honestly, I've said a couple names. Man, shout out to the USC, University of Southern California. Let's shout out to them. I mean, graduates of that program are people who've been in that program for the last 4 years. That is Brooklyn Courtnall, That's Zoe Burns, that's Simia Awujo, that's Florian Jourde. Like, that's 4 players that we've already highlighted in this video, all from USC. Shout out to them. I know there's other universities, but that was just fascinating for me. When we get up top, I think we've seen 2 of these players break into the national team. Holly Ward and Kayla Briggs. Both of them. Kayla Briggs is still in university. Holly Ward playing for the Vancouver Rising Northern Super League. Both showing solid energy, solid opportunity, honestly. We saw Holly Ward get her first goal, scored at one point, had more national team goals than she had, say, club goals, but that's changed. Kayla Briggs attacking with energy, fearlessness, with a drive to go through. One of the few bright spots of that 3-0 loss to the U.S. If we look at the bench, names that we've sometimes forgotten to even bring up, right? In the middle, going forward, like we didn't even talk about other midfielders / forwards going forward. Felicia Roy, who could have been in the U21. Kira Mellenhorst, who is fresh off of playing for the futsal team and winning gold for them, and so she'll be potentially headed off to play in a futsal World Cup. Jamie Perrault, coming from the Vancouver elite program, also could have been on the U21, but playing in Europe now. Chloe Minas. Chloe Minas is a name that I was not familiar, but shout out to W Soccer. With the trusty list, Molly Race is who I'm thinking of. My apologies. Molly Race, shout out to her. Played U Sports, is playing in Denmark, won the league. Young goalkeeper. That's our goalkeeper behind Anna Karvanko. We're all over the place today, guys, but hey, this is where we are. But more forwards to talk about. Right, we mentioned Jamie Perrault, Chloe Minas, Kayla Novak, another member of that U22, of that U20 team of 2022, playing at Durham FC in England currently, and Amanda Allen, who was about to start at Syracuse, but then went pro. Suffered a few injuries, so we're hoping her loan time at Halifax gets her some playing time, gets her confidence back up, and she starts to rev. Maybe to push for a spot further on, but I don't know if those opportunities are going to be fully there at the winger position. But we'll have to sit and wait and see. But that's the U23 side, guys. I've named a lot of players. You let me know, who do you think I should be paying attention? Who excites you if you're a Canadian women's national team fan? And who should have made this 11? You talk to me. Even though we haven't even talked about Sarita Thurton, who, quite frankly, has been having a solid year for the Calgary Wild. Though only with 2 assists and a goal. Honestly, I think, again, work rate high, taking on players 1v1, has played within the system since she was 15. But these are all fun things. And again, a young player who could have been included in the U21 video, but we put in a U23 because we wanted to add more players and highlight others. But that's who we have. You guys let us know. Finally, for sure, we're ending here. I promise. Let us know, and as always, we'll stop talking right here. A lot of, as I've just said, it's not fair to put pressure on these players. I'm going to put pressure on these players. I don't know if I've been as excited for a group of players coming through the ranks as I have been since, say, that U20 group from 2014.